a hustler. You hustle that man back there for money.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, whatever it happens to be, wherever you happen to be. My name is Octavian. It's good to have you all along for the next episode of Price Check, and this is going to be a big one. This is going to be a special episode. I've had some people requesting a quad tab episode, and I've had some people requesting a episode focused on various different bases, you know, a jewelry episode, a belts episode, that sort of thing. So I figured, why not kill two birds with one stone? And this is the results. Yeah, we're in for a bit of a treat today. We've got 4 tabs worth, one whole quad tab worth of random jewelry here of mostly pretty high eye level and you know, high yellow maps to low red maps. We'll likely find a few good things in here, but most of it's going to be junk. So let's get started because this is going to take a little while. But for anybody who's new to the series and perhaps tuning in on this episode, I'm sorry. Normally they're not going to be this long, but for a quick explanation of what it is we're doing here, I'm going to be going through this tab full of unidentified rare gear, and I'm going to be pricing it, giving my justification behind my prices, and hopefully teaching you a thing or two as we go. And I'm not actually going to be spending quite as long on each individual piece of gear as I usually would in one of these episodes with a smaller amount of stuff to go over. I'll still try and give at least a brief explanation behind my thoughts for anything that stands out to me, but we got a lot of stuff to cover, so it might take a bit. 30 all attributes, a lot of fizz damage to attacks. We've got strength and int as the implicit as well, so there's strength going on there with the attributes and the, well, just raw strength. That's 50-ish strength total, 25 life. Does this have an open prefix? It does not, which is unfortunate. If this had an open prefix, we may very well have wanted to craft life on that, because that is T1 flat fizz and a good all attributes roll. I think without one, though, it's not worth it. That T10 mana roll is really being a bit of a jerk. We could try to annul that off. I will check this and see whether or not that would be worth it. I think without any crit or crit multi-rolls, it wouldn't be. That is also T1 lightning damage to attacks, though, which is interesting. Nothing too useful there. We've got no life rolls, so I don't think that this is going to see any use, as well as that breach rings just aren't very good. Very difficult to find a good one. Mainly because ring implicits are really powerful. Resistance, stats, crit, life, all of these are very strong stats, so doing without one, bit of a downside. No life, poor resist. We've got low ES, and that's all. Crit multi, crit chance, but the rolls are terrible. We've got ES, int, and a good lightning res roll. The cold damage is not relevant to too many builds, but there are some ES Whispering Ice builds out there that may be wanted if they're not converting the cold to fire, so hey, might be worth something. We have some attack speed, some ES, and some res. Maybe for Hawa, but there's no lightning damage and no int, and those are stats that Hawa would definitely be looking for. Also, Hawa's not too particularly common. ES builds in general aren't, but, you know, doesn't hurt. It's got some good rolls on a few potentially useful stats. Actually, not really that good rolls. T2 ES is really the best one there. But attack speed tiers are really small, so like 7% attack speed is really close to being tier 3, even kind of close to being tier 2. Just because the ranges on the individual tiers are fairly minuscule. We've got no life there, we've got no life here. 46 life, some all attributes, some flat fizz, and some res. Really disappointing on all of its rolls. A combination of rolls, actually, that could have been worth a good amount if the rolls had rolled a bit better. It does have tri-res, though. Does have tri-res and a bit of flat fizz. And for Mind Over Matter, I guess the mana helps a bit. It's a horrible mana roll, so I just shouldn't even bother considering that. No life on a breach ring. That's vendor food. Okay, no life here. We are missing a valuable life rolls there as well. A lot of res, but since the flat fizz roll is only tier 5, unlike the tier 1 flat fizz roll over here, I'm not going to consider crafting any flat life onto that. Blue pearl base, interesting. Yeah, nothing too great going on. I did actually manage to sell a fairly well-rolled Blue Pearl Amulet with a really high explicit mana regen roll. I believe to someone who's playing an Indigon build, which makes mana recovery perhaps a bit more valuable, given how powerful Indigon is and how popular it's been for high-end builds taking on Uber Elder. That's certainly not going to sell, though. Alright, we've got crit chance, ES, mana, and int. Good rolls on some of them. The int and the mana, I believe, is also pretty high tier. Yeah, tier 2 mana. Yeah, without any res, though. Don't think that this sells. Without any res and being off meta, basically. 70 life, the rest of it's trash. Well, that's just all trash. What was that? Flat Fizz, crit chance, life, and a pile of dex. Sadly, dex is the pretty much a worst stat as far as trying to sell a piece of gear. There are some builds that need that dex, but they wouldn't be builds that are looking for Flat Fizz and crit chance for the most part. In that combination, like this is probably going to be bought by somebody playing some sort of Blade Flurry build, or maybe some sort of crit bow build, or there's so many builds that can use this. You know, Doom Fletch or Blade Flurry, Ichimonjis, that sort of thing. Any build that has a low DPS weapon, Facebreaker can use it. Any build that has a low DPS weapon that needs to be enhanced by some flat added damage, and also wants to go crit, and also is life-based, which is about a third of builds at the moment. So yeah, that's definitely got value. A little unfortunate that it's a dex base, though, because I don't think that stat is particularly relevant. We've got good fire damage, we've got some ES, some int, and res. Yeah. I don't know, the rolls are solid. Where'd that go? Where'd that go? Sapphire Ring. Is it this one? Yeah, it is. Okay. The rolls are solid. The rolls are actually quite good. It's really only tier 3 fire damage? I thought that went into like the low 20s. Perhaps not as good as I thought. Yeah, I think the combination of rolls is not particularly synergistic. And we're getting a lot of ES rings today, which is not something I really want to see. 78 life is good. Solid collection of res. Not amazing, but a lot of cold res at least. And some flat fire. Could sell. 43 life, 39, 22. No, not quite good enough at this point. 33 life, goodbye. 50 life, goodbye. No life roll or ES roll. 70 life and some stats, but no res and no damage. Well, it's actually 94 life and some stats, but that's not good enough. Maybe earlier in the league that ring could have sold. Bad ES, no life. We've got nothing really here. Nope. Decent collection of res, accuracy, and lightning damage. If this had a good life roll, it could probably sell. Without one, I don't think it does, and it's not quite strong enough to be worth crafting a life roll onto, because these rolls aren't amazing. I mean, it's T7 lightning to attacks. 53 life. Always unfortunate to see a diamond base not live up to its potential. We've got another breach ring with horrible mods. I can actually show you guys that good breach ring. It hasn't sold yet. That's an amulet right there. That is a nice amulet. Sadly, well, I was about to say no damage mods. It does have lightning damage to attacks. It's not a very generic damage mod, though, and it's not super high tier. Well, it's not that bad. It's good for builds like KB that want to stack a lot of flat alley. So, yeah, that's probably our best find so far. And I'm going to be setting these aside in a tab, and we'll be price checking things at the end of the episode. So you can just skip ahead to that if you want to get through all of the sorting. If this isn't your cup of tea and you just want to see what things are worth, that is garbage. Present armor, a little bit of ES. Those can be synergistic together for Aegis builds. Don't know how popular Aegis is anymore, though. Life, mana, res. Okay. Basic ring. Probably worth something, though. Wow, that's trash. And +2 socketed gems. Unfortunate to see it in a sea of garbage. Got a few more un-ID'd rings that are just going to be the result of vendoring so many rings. Can get through those real fast. None of them had anything of note. And I will go ahead and throw the decent ones in here. So anything that survived the sorting, I may need more than one stash tab worth of space. Or I may just need to be a bit more critical of my rings. And let's get back to it. Looks like this will take about 7 or 8 return trips. This isn't actually going as slowly as I anticipated, though. A lot of it's just garbage, which is going to be the case with rare gear. But, you know, you got to look through it for the chance at finding that absolutely gorgeous item, which actually I wanted to briefly show you guys. Look at that thing. That's probably the best rare I found this league. One of the best rares I found to date, honestly. 3 times T1 resistance is pretty disgusting. Working on enchanting that. If you're interested in watching that, you can head on over to the stream. There's a link in the description. There's a certain point at which I just get bored and start spam clicking. The sweet music of ding. Okay, 67 life, some ES, but garbage other rolls. We got good flat fizz, but it is drowning in a sea of bad rolls. 7 life, goodbye. No life, no ES, nothing like that. 25 life is a bit low, even with a bit of strength to augment it. Sad, because that could have been quite good with a good life roll. That's a pile of trash. That's a little mediocre. 36 multi, some flat fizz to attack, some spell damage, some percent ES. These are all potentially good mods. Some of them roll badly, and they're not very synergistic, so it's just vendor food. Oh well. No life, no ES, no res. Same here. A little bit of ES, well, let's say a little bit of res. It's okay, but yeah, just very mediocre. Absolute trash. Good amount of life, but nothing else going for it. Maybe some attack speed, but attack speed's a bit of a value add stat. Haven't actually talked about those in a while. It's a term I like to use where you're going to have, when pricing an item, you're going to have a core to the item that's going to give it value. So like something like that, where was it? 74 life. That's a good start. It's a good building block. It's a core piece of an item because life builds are so popular and life is just such a in-demand stat. Whereas that attack speed roll is also quite good, but wouldn't build the item as much. You know, you have to, you would still have to have life and res or really good damage stats or some other thing that makes the item valuable. And then if you throw attack speed in, hey, it's more valuable, which is why I call it value add. It adds value, but it does not make the item valuable itself. Maybe the term is confusing and I should come up with a different one. This is not worth crafting life onto, though it could have been close if that spell damage roll were a bit better. We've got no resistance, well, no life, okay resists, same here. Some good accuracy, sadly mediocre ES, some flat fizz, some int, some res. I don't think that the rolls on this warrant crafting life, since the flat fizz is fairly low tier, and accuracy, while a nice stat, is not quite good enough. Mainly because crafted life on jewelry is not a good roll. Most of the time you only get like up to 40 to 50 life or so. Cast speed, nothing else really. 2% ES. Woo! 37 crit chance, some spell damage, a lot of stats. This has a bunch of value add stuff like I was talking about earlier. Things like stat rolls are less core, though they can be really nice. And I'm starting to come around on them a bit more. Cast speed is a little disoriented of a ring, doesn't know what it wants to do. Flat ES is really low. We've got a good collection of resistances and some flat damage, but no room for crafted life, even if I wanted to, which I don't really want to. Okay, that's just trash. The life and mana gained on kill rolls, those are never going to be worth anything. So you can kind of just ignore those when evaluating an item. Percent mana regen, also not that useful. Though, as I said earlier, with Indigon, I have been able to sell some blue pearl amulets, or specifically one blue pearl amulet with a really high percent mana regen roll for a good amount. I think it was like 30, 40 chaos. It was a little while ago now, I don't actually quite recall. The percent ES roll is a bit low. Cold damage to attacks doesn't synergize with it. If it were maybe a bit higher, I could have considered selling that because the res was good. Really low accuracy as well can just be ignored. If the accuracy isn't over at least a few hundred, then it's just irrelevant. And rarity is not particularly relevant either, so this has a bunch of irrelevant stats. No life, bad resistances, it's garbage. Decent collection of res, but no damage stats. Rarity, we have a bunch of irrelevant stats here. We have mana, regen, and rarity. Like, those I can just ignore. So basically this ring just says bad dex, bad flat fizz, so it's garbage. People have asked me to talk a little bit more about some of the items that I am ignoring, some of the items that I'm going just vendoring immediately, and hopefully this episode can help with that, because as well, this has really low strength, which is irrelevant to the item. It has really low accuracy, which is irrelevant to the item. Low mana rolls as well, especially without the presence of a life roll, can be ignored. So this may as well just say tier 2 flat fire 2 attacks, which is not a good enough ring to sell, that's for sure. Good flat fizz, I believe. Yeah, tier 2 flat fizz, but the rest of it is trash. Well, I say the rest of it's trash. It's also got tier 2 flat lightning. Either of those with a good surrounding amulet could have been good. Low flat evasion, another thing you can kind of ignore. Even if the flat evasion roll is high, it's not going to impact the price very much, or cause it to be a sellable item. This is garbage. As is this. Bad inventory here. Bad inventory is worth. It's okay. We'll get through it. That's such a good wed roll with so much trash around it. Light radius is ignorable. Life gained on kill is terrible. Flat accuracy is the worst. Flat dex when it's that low is just garbage. So this may as well just say 42% wed. And also no room for crafting things. Bad. Very bad. Well, I mean, that's better. Better than the last contender I just vendored, but still not trying very hard. Crit multi, fire damage, life. If the life roll were high, I would sell this. Especially considering there's an open suffix and even an open prefix, but I would probably just craft all res. But that 30 life roll is really killing it. So, I think it's just vendor food. Didn't actually properly look at this. It is garbage. As is that. Mana gained on kill, fizz damage leached his life, which is sometimes useful, but not very often. It has to be on exactly the right item. It has to be in an item that's oriented towards a build that would want that. So flat fizz, crit chance, crit multi, life, res, those are the stats that you're looking for. If you then have fizz, attack damage leached his life as like your final stat, it does add some value. It is the most extreme case of a value add stat, I would say. And we got a good collection of stats and nothing else. It's okay, we get a few extra rare bits and pieces to look at. Anything good here? 24 life, a bunch of ignorable stats like flat regen, low mana, good resistances, and percent ES. Okay, it's a decent percent ES roll too. Yeah, that's sellable. 33 crit multi, some flat fizz, some lightning res. Flat fizz is tier 2, crit multi is tier 2. It's got a lightning res roll. Dex space is really unfortunate. As I said earlier, Dex is not really a stat that is searched for nearly as much as inter strength. So, I don't think that this is worth crafting life onto, but I'm going to hold on to it. Earlier in the league, it definitely would have been. And even now, it's... Oh, that's not the right tab. Hang on. Hang on. There it is. I need to rename this. Stuff. This will be decent stuff. Decent rings. There. Confusing myself with my own tab naming system. The true face of efficiency. You're looking at it. Alright. Through the rest of it. I mean, it's kind of good that that last inventory was full of junk because it means we got through it fairly quickly. And as I go, the absolute trash pieces of gear I'm going to spend a bit less time on. I will continue to just mention what it is that's giving the item its trash tier status though. But I won't really go into the justification behind it as I've... Well, actually with that inventory I covered just about all of it because there was every variety of trash you could possibly hope for. Yay! Yeah, we've got just mediocre rolls all around, plus 5 ES, some flat life regems can be ignored. This is just entirely ignorable aside from that all-res roll. 3% max ES, no life, no ES, 43 flat ES, 20 fire damage, but that's really all it's got going for it, 19 life. A large collection of trash. Pardon me. Cast speed, no. Get out of here. Missed IDing one there. Wow, that's really bad. So what's happening here, when a rare item drops, it guaranteed drops with at least 4 mods. You're never going to see a 3 mod rare item. This looks like a 3 mod rare item, but if you hit Alt, you can tell it's got 2 rarity mods, and that will combine and look like just one. And rarity, as I said earlier, is something you can kind of ignore. It is probably the wimpiest of all value add stats. So that or fizz damage leached his life or mana. Though fizz damage leached his mana is actually more useful than life because that can sometimes be build enabling. 20% wed, nothing else really. Some chaos resistance, which you do want to look for with max ES a lot of the time, but because of low life builds valuing it. But 4% max ES is really not what I'm after. Spell damage, that's all. We got the fizz leeches mana, but it's not on a good ring. And as I said earlier, that really needs a good item to sort of live on in order to be worth anything. Plus 1 ES, 1 to 2 flat fizz, life gained on kill, horrible res rolls. You're just a piece of garbage, aren't you? Goodbye. Attack speed, some flat life regen? No. No, no, no. 23 crit multi, that's a promising start. Not a good finish, though. Not a good finish. I was looking for life, res, flat damage stats, crit chance, that sort of thing. Percent armor, flat life regen, no. Nope. Yeah, no. Garbage. We've got Fizz Leech does life, some stats. And this is, it's looking like another tab full of trash. We've got 1 to 2 flat fire to attacks, which is unfortunate, but it's got a decent amount of effective HP for a Mind Over Matter build between the life and mana roll, though the mana roll's pretty junk. And an okay amount of res. It can maybe sell for a few chaos. Earlier in the league could have been like 3 to 5. Now maybe like 1 or 2. Probably not even worth the time to list for me, but I will. That percent ES roll is unfortunate, because if you had space to craft one, this would be a good amount better. But it does have some all attributes, a high fire damage roll, and an okay amount of ES, so we'll check it out, I suppose. 67 life in a sea of garbage. A bunch of ignorable rolls, some decent flat fizz, good percent armor, but not particularly relevant by itself. Flat accuracy, that did not really go that high. It's about the breakpoint for flat accuracy. You know, around the 300 mark is when I start considering it to be a worthwhile roll, and you know, looking at the rest of the item to see what it's got, see if it supports that 385, but the rest of this certainly doesn't support it. 21% ES, some dex. The only place where dex is actually something of a valued stat might be on ES rings and ES amulets, that sort of thing, or ES focused ones, that is, but you know, the rest of that simply wasn't good enough. Terrible resistance rolls, terrible everything rolls, and same here. Got bad crit multi, some all attributes, a bit of chaos res, 20 flat life, okay, flat accuracy, 39 life, lets that thing down. Percent evasion can be relevant. We're out of the Queen of the Forest meta though, so it's a bit less. There are a lot of people still playing Queen of the Forest, it's just not quite as popular as it used to be. Alright, another inventory worth of garbage dealt with. We got crit chance, mana. No. No, no, no. Goodbye. At least we're getting a lot of alts. Maybe I can spam those on a good base and actually make something good out of all of this. If nothing else, this should be a primer in why you shouldn't pick up a lot of rare gear, because these are arguably the best pieces of rare gear to pick up. Rings and amulets, and you know, I've gone through, this looks like close to 2 tabs worth at this point, because this is a quad tab, so you know, a quarter of it is a tab's worth, and we're almost halfway through, and found that many decent ones, and a lot of those aren't even that good, maybe a few chaos at best, but I'm holding out hope. We'll find something really good, I'm sure. Good rares do exist. I don't know, can't say that yet. Maybe once I find one. Nope. No life, poor resistance. That's what we're looking at there. Decent collection of stats. Again, no life, poor resistance though. Good amount of damage for spell. Well, not even, because that spell damage roll is really low. It's got some percent ES, some crit chance, some spell damage, cold damage. I don't know. Without any res, and it's just, it's not in its meta. I think we're going to vendor that. The percent ES roll is not that great. It's not quite high enough. Crit multi is, well, it's got an okay amount of res and some crit multi. If the crit multi were higher, I would have considered crafting life on that. Wow, that's just trash. 19 all attributes, some flat fizz, and a lightning res roll. With a life roll, you could have been good. Plus 3 ES and 2 life regenerated a second. Ooh. Okay. Got 31 crit multi, some ES, some accuracy, and some res on a strength dex base, which those are the 2 stats that an ES build might want to fill out stat requirements. Don't know what sort of build would want that right now, but it's an okay collection of stats. We'll hold it. Okay then. Just junk. 11 flat ES does not fill me with a sense of desire for the item. 3 to 5 flat fizz. We got crit chance, accuracy, life, mana, and some stats, but all the rolls are mediocre at best. 71 mana. It's the only good thing that's got. 9 life undoes that. 64 life. If I could just swap the life rolls here, please. We have a pretty good item in our hands. Sadly, not possible. Maybe Beast Crafting will add that recipe. Again, this is another item with 2 rarity rolls that got combined. So, a bit of a curiosity. some horrible flat accuracy, some horrible everything, except for the 20% max CS. That's actually a decent roll, but, you know, needs a bit more than that. 23 life, nothing doing here. Cast speed, fire damage, lightning damage, presented. What the heck is that? There is that new ring that allows your fire damage to shock or something like that. I forget. There's a fire lightning synergistic ring that came out. It's I believe it drops from Uber Elder. I saw Herald Auto Bomber build using it as an elementalist. It was interesting, but I don't think that this is any good. The percent ES roll is bad. Flat life is horrible. No percent ES, no flat life. Flat life is horrible. 72 life, but surrounded by nothing but garbage. Okay, 40 life is rather low, and 2% max ES is also rather low. Flat life regenerated a second, percent mana regen. These are all very bad. I would like to find something actually quite good so that I can show you guys what a good item looks like. This has just been a primer in, like, how to tell a bad amulet. Nothing but trash. 11 life regen. A good collection of stats, but nothing else. Also, tri-stats are pretty hard to sell because not many builds actually really need 34 strength, 38 dex, and 16 int, or however much, even if these were all like 40 rolls. And they're all suffixes, so they take up the res slots. And most builds need resistance, especially in their rare slots. Flat life, regen, and the crit multi is good. The crit multi is good, I'll give it that. Trash, 36 life is not enough to save it even with the mana roll. And nothing here. 4 all res, 1 to 2 cold damage. Impressive. Flat accuracy is garbage, flat ES is also. Okay. Flat life regen, horrible flat ES. And another inventory worth of trash. Maybe one of these is good. We've had, like, some of the ones that's been returning have been decent. That's not a good start, though. It's about as bad as an item can possibly get. Could have, like, flat life gained on kill instead of that mana regen. It might be a bit worse. We're reaching the very bottom of the barrel. 42 ES, some percent evasion. The Trickster node is actually pretty good for, like, hybrid evasion ES, but I don't know. I don't think there's many people taking advantage of that, as well as that, like, the elemental damage of the tax kills. I guess Trickster with Harness the Void can scale that to some degree, but it's a horrible roll, and, you know, 1 res and the mana regen and the decks are not too relevant. Like, if you're trying to sell this to a Trickster, then they're on the right side of the tree. They've got a lot of decks. They don't need that. They're probably going to the top right side of the tree, so they've got a lot of int. They don't need that, so the stats aren't particularly relevant. The mana regen isn't relevant. Trickster's got plenty of mana recovery if they want it. The res is nice, and the wet is garbage, and the evasion ES is a hard sell, so I don't think that's worth anything. 33 crit multi, some all attributes, but nothing else. Okay. Decent, well, it's not just rings and amulets. Whatever. I'm sure somebody is going to be yelling at me about that in the comments. Angrily typing away already. Amulets are just rings for your neck. All right. Have some more junk, Navali. We're only about a little over halfway through, so there's still hope. Still hope that we find that GG ring. Unfortunately, none of the bases are steel or opal or that sort of thing, which would have had a lot more promise. But diamonds are still quite good. No. Just a collection of res is not worth crafting a life roll onto in order to save the item. 21 all attributes, a surprising amount of int on that, and a percent ES roll, but without any life or damage, or without any res or damage rolls, I don't think it's worth anything. Got nothing but trash so far. A decent amount of life, EHP actually, for a Mind Over Matter build. And we've got an open suffix for a crafted res or a crafted stat. So that's an okay ring. It's a solid ring. The kind of ring I expected to see more of. Well, that's the kind of ring I expected to see a lot of, and we have seen a lot of. Life, strength, res, unsets, an unfortunate base for that to happen on, because the unset base is not too useful to someone who's just looking for a basic ring like this, but we can list it. Attack speed, 5 fizz life. Not a bad combination of stats, but the rolls aren't great. And without any other good stats surrounding them, I wouldn't say it's worth anything. Breach Ring without good life rolls. Another thing you're looking for in Breach Rings actually is Chaos Resistance. That can help people who are farming Kula Breachstones quite a bit. And we're just going to pick up the pace here a little bit, just kind of mosey on over a lot of this trash. 5 life is garbage. Breach Ring without any Chaos Res. That's actually what I look for first and foremost on Breach Rings. It's going to give it the most value out of any roll aside maybe from life. Speaking of life, we've got 58 of that here. Decent int, some fire resistance, horrible wed, sadly. Now when I say wed, I mean weapon elemental damage, which is what it used to be called. It's now called elemental damage with attacks. Edwood just doesn't sound quite as nice. It hasn't been called wed for like multiple patches now. But I'm an old fogey and I refuse to adapt to modern times. 1 to 2 flat fizz. Beautiful. Mana regen, a lot of ignorable rolls. Mana regen, mana gained on kill, that sort of thing. A res roll under like 30-ish. If you got multiple res rolls under 30 on a good ring or a good amulet, then you can start to consider them as a valuable stat there. Terrible, yes. Flat life gained on kill. Bunch of trash. No chaos res roll. Yeah. If it doesn't have the Chaos Res roll, then it has to just stand up as a good ring on its own, which is a bit harder for it to do because Breach Rings don't have a good implicit, and so they're just kind of at a natural disadvantage to any other base. Breach Implicit is not particularly useful unless you're specifically farming high-tier Breach Lord domains, which is Kula, which is hence why Chaos Res is so good. Nothing really. 83 life, some crit chance, and a res. Room for a crafted res? Room for a crafted res? Okay, sure. The life roll is high enough that I'd be willing to craft a res roll into that and try and sell it. A few pieces of not total trash. This is good. A lot of prismatic rings. 46 life. 67 life. Nothing else really great, though. Alright. And we have reached the halfway mark. This is going actually quite a bit faster than I anticipated because we're getting rather unlucky at this point. I know I said that most of it's going to be garbage, but I didn't actually expect this much of it to be garbage. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Let's take one from over here randomly. There we go. Maybe that'll bring me good luck. Maybe I'm just not being superstitious enough. That's probably the case. Let the impatient spam clicking begin. And I'm going to continue to pick up the pace here. Anything that's just absolute garbage, I'm going to sort of glaze over as we can hopefully get to a good item or two a little bit faster. So this is about the rate at which I'll be IDing things if I'm not making one of these episodes. We've got 2 good-ish resistance rolls and wed. However, the fire damage roll, while synergistic with the wed roll, even combining them together only brings you up to 26%, which is about half of what a good wed roll could be. It's on an unset base, which isn't great, and we've got flat fizz to attacks. You know, isn't great for this ring. Unset base can be really good, but you're not looking for those rolls. You're looking for plus to socketed gems, life, resistances, that sort of thing. Things that are useful for scaling a single powerful aura, which is something that Righteous Fire will do for their Purity of Fire in order to better survive Righteous Fire and access more of their regen. 60 life is all we've got going there. Some horrible flat rolls, flat damage rolls that don't really mean much. Plus 8 strength, and garbage, garbage, garbage. Big old pile of garbage. 9 life. 35 wed. First decent wed roll I've seen today. 35 lightning res though, bad accuracy and mediocre mana means that that wed roll gets vendored, which is unfortunate. If I could Frankenstein together a bunch of different rolls from these, ooh, close, close. It does have 93 life, but just one okay all res roll is not going to save it. But yeah, if I could Frankenstein together a bunch of different rolls from these, we'd have a really good item. That is not how it works though. That would be way too strong. Well, that was just a full inventory worth of garbage. Amethyst without... another ring where you're looking for explicit chaos resistance is an amethyst ring base. because some low life builds in particular would really like to have that chaos resistance, and we've got one more ring that it boiled down to. Nope. Alright. Lots of alts. At least there's that. If nothing else, I can take that from this. Onwards, ever onwards. A few gold ring bases. I didn't think those were on the filter. Interesting. Gold rings, generally speaking, aren't really worth picking up. Neither are breach rings. I don't know why those are still on my filter. I should probably take them off. I found one good one, and now I don't want to take them off. I'm sure it'll happen again. Took me a little longer to get to the spam clicking portion there. I'm becoming more patient. And we're just going to speed sort through these. I really want to hit something like actually quite good. I was anticipating getting one or two really nice pieces of gear out of this, given it's a quad tab worth, but no, evidently not. 36 flat ES, 2 decent res rolls. Actually, it's 3 different res rolls, including the implicit, so we can get that listed. The flat ES is pretty trash, though. So I wouldn't say that it's going to sell too reliably or quickly, and it'll probably just end up getting vendored eventually. 34 crit multi, that catches my attention. No life though, no percent ES, nothing along those lines, so I don't think we can actually sell that. 2 decent stat rolls, that's all we had there. Well, not all we had, there was a wed roll too. 10 life, 8 all attributes, 65 life on a diamond base, good start. What else have we got? Some flat fire to attack, some ints, no res though. It's kind of bricked up with some rarity life regen and a bad mana roll. Yeah, I don't think that sells. That's unfortunate. It was fairly close. You know, one other good roll would have made that sellable. And 30 life, even with the mana for like Mind Over Matter, that doesn't save it. We've got a good amount of stats, some flat fizz, but no life. And the mana is not good enough. Percent lightning, decent life roll, but pretty garbage otherwise. 74 life, res, dex, mana. Hey, not a bad ring. Especially considering builds that do go Mind Over Matter are often requiring a bit of dex. So could be nice. Alright. A few more Prismatic Rings. 67 life, a lot of res, considering the implicit as well. Decent ring. Pretty basic one though. Not really much to delve into there. Gotten quite a number of chance orbs out of this. I guess that's fairly inevitable with this many items. Doop, doop, doop. The end draws near. I'm actually not sure how long the episode has been. Shorter than I anticipated, though. We will go ahead and price check all of those, as I said, at the end, though. But a lot of them, I think I'm just going to eyeball a price and list them. Because a lot of them were fairly basic, and I don't think I actually really need to take the time to look them up. I'm just gonna go into like my 2 or 3C tab and sell eventually, if at all. 21 life really lets that ring down. Could have been good otherwise. That, and it's an amethyst base, which isn't great for this collection of rolls. Oh, that life roll's unfortunate. Oh. 6 to 12 plus 8 life. So being able to just recognize, ooh, plus 2 to socketed gems. First time we've seen that, I think, but no decent ring surrounding it. 79 life. Nothing else great though. Being able to recognize which rolls are going to potentially give you value and which rolls are going to kill your ring are what allow you to sort of sort through them at this rate, or even faster, honestly. I'm not going that quickly. 63 life, some crit chance, some flat fizz, some lightning damage, which I don't think is particularly relevant, but it's a really good roll, so like maybe for the right build, some fizz to lightning thing that's going on. Yeah, that's an okay amulet. Percent ES, some crit multi, nothing else really. Well, is there room for... I mean, there's room for life, but I don't think it's worth it. The rest of the amulet's not good enough. Oh god, that's bad. But if you see something that just, you know, if you see that like 1 to 2 cold, then you know, this needs to have other really good rolls to be worth it. 1 to 2 fizz, same thing. So if you then don't see like a really high life roll or a really high wed roll or a really high crit multi roll, then you can just kind of keep going. This has 83 life, some flat fizz, and a lot of int though, as well as that. Definitely room for crafting. It's got 2 open suffixes, so we can get some res onto that, which is nice because it is what it's lacking. 1 to 2 flat fizz, which is why I sort of like when I hover over these rings or amulets quickly, I'll call out a certain roll because that's what I'm seeing that's leading me to think I should look further or I should just ignore this. For instance, the flat fizz caught my attention here because it's a solid flat fizz roll. That is T1. It's got some amount of life as well. A decent collection of stats. I mean, as I've said, deck's not particularly relevant with a life flat fizz item, and the res roll is bad, and it doesn't have crit, and the flat cold may not be all that useful for too many builds, so I think it's just kind of a good flat fizz roll that's isolated in a sea of crap, sadly. Terrible flat accuracy. 2% evasion, so I'll like try and just call out the rolls that I'm seeing, like 8% evasion, some garbage chaos res, +1 max ES, 62 life, some mana, some res. Yeah, sure. Another pretty basic item that we'll try and list. I'm getting a little desperate here for things to actually list. 19 life, 2.4 life regen, +3 ES, and nothing really. Okay. We're getting into a lot of new amulets now. 72 life, decent collection of spell fire damage. And a 15 all res roll. Yeah, sure. Doop, 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 doop. Making this tab even more of a liar. And here we are. The home stretch. Sort of. I think there's another 2 inventories worth here. I'm beginning to worry though. Haven't seen anything like particularly good. There's a coral amulet in this? Huh. That should also be off the filter. Don't know how that managed to sneak in. Coral amulet is pretty much the worst base. You know, if you get a really good roll on it, you can always corrupt it to try and hit +1 curse. And then you're not really risking as much, I guess. I don't know. You're just trying to replace the base. Because the flat life regen is pretty useless, which is why I just ignore flat life regen as an explicit mod on any piece of jewelry. Okay amount of... I don't know, the life roll is okay but not great, the res total is okay but not great, the stat total is okay but not great. I think early in the league this could have sold, but it would have to be very early in the league. Now I don't believe it can. Flat accuracy, crit multi, flat damage, wed. Okay. No life though. But that's okay. I mean, it doesn't have space for life with all that flat damage. The 2 flat LE rolls are not very good. The wed roll's pretty good. The crit multi's quite good. The accuracy's fairly good. It's a damage amulet, well and truly, but we'll list it. I don't know. I don't think it's quite good enough. Mainly because flat LE is far less valued than flat fizz. If that had been a really good flat fizz roll and then like maybe also crit chance or life, it would have been amazing. But, you know, if wishes were fishes. I don't remember the rest of that phrase, so I don't know where I was going with that. A lot of res, some wed. Wishes were on a better base. It would be a bit easier to stomach crafting something onto it. But yeah, as an onset, I don't think I will. I think it just becomes vendor food. Decent amount of res, all attributes. Some percent ES. Percent ES is fairly low, though. Crit multi, that's all. Alright, good. I'm glad that I have to like stop and think about more of these. And they're not just immediately vendor food. Crit chance, some life, that's about it. I thought that was a life roll, just a mana roll. 12% yes, good lord. Or 12% wed even. 8 life, ooh, ooh, big money. Oh, nice, flat fizz, res. Good amount of int, which can be really nice for builds looking for these, and also a life roll, of course. And the flat fizz is tier 2. And even a pretty well rolled tier 2. Good amulet. Probably one of the better items we've found so far. Especially if I can craft something like crit chance onto that, which I will check. That's not what I want to do. Strength, yes. Strength, yes, is a good start. It's got a good implicit, obviously. Prismatic Ring is one of the better ones. But the flat fizz is not particularly relevant. Low max mana and life gain on kill are also pretty bad. Okay. Let's see. Wanted to see whether or not I could craft something useful onto this. We can put crit chance onto it. That's pretty good. Okay. Okay. That was a nice amulet. Probably one of the better ones we found. Actually, I'm just gonna say that this is the best item we found so far. It's not amazing by any stretch. What is that? I don't know why I didn't find that. It's not amazing by any stretch, but it's decent. It will sell. Fairly certain of that. I didn't get wisdoms. There. And it looks like we're just about through, possibly. Maybe a little more than inventory's worth here. Oh no, no. This is it. Well, if nothing else, let this be a lesson not to pick up very many rare items. Because even just about a month into the league, most of these aren't worth your time. And the stricter the loot filter, the better, most of the time. Because especially if I were picking up a lot more poor bases, it would not be worth it. 4 life. Beautiful. 74 life, though. That's a bit better. Add 70 more to that life roll and it becomes decent. Suffix. I can craft a res onto this. The flat fizz is absolute trash, though. And the strength is really low, so actually I don't think that's worth something. Early in the league, though, could have definitely have been. A few chaos. Good flat colt. Good amount of resist. Got a dex roll. It's got a life roll. I like it. Decent ring. Good to see that. That's encouraging. Wow. Oh, we got cast speed. Horrible life, though. Dang, that could have been actually quite good with a good life roll on it. Oh well. 60 life, some 16 all res. Perfect all res roll, but I think the rest of the ring is a little bit underwhelming, and we can finish it out with a bang here. Get something awesome, right? That's actually not terrible. Chaos res base isn't great, but it does have open space for another res craft. It's got pretty good wed, it's got life. Yeah, we can just craft another res onto that and sell it. And the rest of this is junk. Okay. Well, we've made it through the tab. Now it's time to price, which shouldn't take nearly as long as I thought it would. So, first I'm going to winnow out the ones that I'm just going to list for a few chaos each, at most. Which would be this one to start with. That's a very... I don't know about this amulet. It's got a lot of damage stats. A build that can take advantage of all of them is theoretically really going to like that amulet. But it's really hard to do without any life or resists on your amulet slot. I say that, but Bisco's exists. I say that, but Bisco's exists. However, this isn't as strong as a Bisco's, that's for sure. Even post-nerf. Even post-second nerf. Poor Bisco's collar. Kind of deserved it, though. I don't know, the flat rolls are really low. It's another thing that's holding me back from pricing it higher. We can start it at 5, though. It's an interesting item. Yeah, that's just like the life rolls letting this down, so we'll list that at like 2. 40s and okay, that's kind of out of meta. Put it up for a few chaos. This one's okay, I suppose. I don't know. Wed roll's okay. We should craft on this. Potentially. I'm just gonna put the AUG craft on this just to give it a bit more total res. I don't really want to spend Alks though. We're late enough in the league that someone can scour off that craft and reapply a new one if they need to. Attack speed, yes, res. Don't think that that's going to sell, but we'll list it. Good amount of EHP for minor matter, which I believe I said when I first saw this. And open suffix means room for crafting. let's go ahead and check this one. So, life and mana, and we're going to be looking for a sum of these mods and a minimum life roll, because without a high life roll it's not going to be worth something, I don't think. So we're going to look for a minimum life roll of 60 and a sum of these two mods over, say, 120. And then, as well as that, our next value on the ring is just going to be the fact that it will have a decently high total elemental resistance roll if we craft on some more res. So it's got 50, 64, it can get up to like 80. So, what have we here? Oh, well, didn't hit ring. A lot of results, but they are 3 to 5 chaos pretty reliably, so we can put this up for 5C. Can craft a res roll on that. That's fine. I'll do an all res roll. Get the widest variety of resists in there. All attributes, flat fizz, flat lightning. Oh yes, I wanted to see whether or not this was worth crafting life onto. I really feel like it doesn't have crit. Yeah, I'm fairly certain that that's just vendor food, but you know what? In the interest of being thorough, amulets. All attributes, I'm almost certain this is just vendor food. We're gonna look for over 25 all attributes, and we're gonna look for tier 1 flat fizz, which would be around, what is that? 39, so around 20 average flat fizz. I'm actually just gonna bring it down to 18 here. So that's around T1 flat fizz. That's our attributes roll, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna look for maximum life, a minimum of say 30, but a maximum of 50. So that would be close to what our crafted life roll could give us. And it's like 1 or 2 chaos. The crafted life roll costs some chaos, and if it doesn't sell, which it probably won't, given a lot of these have been up for a while, then it's simply not worth the craft. So this is just vendor food, and it will be given to Navali. Oop. Life, strength, not a great base. We'll get that listed for a few chaos. Int, flat ES, cold damage, and a good res roll with no suffix space. Prefix space though for percent ES, and that could actually be worth crafting. So, let's see. This is a decently solid amulet actually. Resistance. Elemental resistance. Number of elemental resistances, max 1. Pseudo total elemental resistance, minimum, let's say 40. And then flat ES, how much do we have on this? We've got only like roughly 30 or so, and room for a max ES craft. Oh wait, no, you can't craft on amulets, can you? Or no, you can on amulets, you can't on rings anymore. Yeah, I could put a 20%, up to 20% max ES roll. Up to, let's just do 15. Alright, that is basically our item. I'm going to just ignore the cold damage, I don't think it's particularly relevant. And it's like a chaos, and it's 4C for the craft, so. We do have 74 int, which I guess I could take into account. But I don't think that's going to add enough value to be worth the 4C for the craft and the risk that it doesn't sell. So, here you go, Navali. Thanks for the 10 alteration shards. Good int roll, decent life. Unfortunate wed, I think this is just going to go up for a few chaos, and we'll bring that down over time until it sells. Crit chance, life, garbage res, garbage spell damage. What does this have for crafting space? Prefix and suffix open. So you could throw another res on this. The life roll is the only thing really giving it any value. Or just list it and bring it down over time. 74 life, some crit chance, some flat fizz. How good is that flat fizz? Tier 3 flat fizz. Sadly, a lot of decks, which I believe I went over when we found this. But let's see. Amulets. Life over, let's go with 70 as our minimum. Physical to attacks. What's the flat fizz in this? 7 to 15, so that's around 10 average. It's actually 11, but we'll do 10 as our baseline. And critical strike chance. Global critical strike chance, 30 plus. So there's going to be quite a few, right? Only 124 results, okay. We have some amount of res. Or we have space for some amount of res, right? No, we don't. It's being blocked up by a rarity roll. Okay, so this is like a 2C item at best then. Cool. Get that listed. 36 ES, 2 res rolls, some garbage flat fizz. Sure, put that up for a few chaos. I wouldn't say that much besides the life and res here is that relevant. The flat fire could be okay for the right build. Going back through this is depressing. These are not very good rings. They're not very good rings at all. There we go. That's one of the better items we found. 89 life. Some flat lightning. Good amount of res. Let's see. Might be worth something. Amulet. Life over, let's go with 80. How much does it have total actually? It's got strength as well, so it's got 99 life. So let's go over 90 life. Let's just see the value of an amulet with over 90 life and a decent collection of elemental resistances, which this one has 60, 72. 72 res. So 90 life, 70 res. It's on a stat base. We'll ignore the flat lightning for now. Start with this search. 156 results. We're looking at 15, 20 chaos to start with, which is nice. And if we add in... Well, how good is the flat lightning roll? Is it that relevant? It's tier 3. It's okay. So it's like 25 average flat lightning. There it is. So you could you could justify doing like a filter group here with flat lightning to attacks, flat cold, and flat fire, and doing count 1 and putting in 20 as your average on each. But I think the fact that it's lightning is actually fairly relevant. A lot of builds are specifically looking for that. This is close to our amulet actually. 4 to 42. We've got 2 to 49. Got the percent evasion. We've also got a 30 all attributes roll, which is nice. So it looks like we've got a pretty solid amulet here. Yeah. The 30 all attributes roll is maybe about as valuable as this 51 strength. Or just the all attribute implicit here. So I think we can get away with listing this for about 1.5x, judging by the market, which is not what I anticipated it being worth, but the really high life value is nice. How long have these been up? 3 days, 22 hours, 1 week. Not too terribly long. Yeah, we can do 1.5x to start. Yay! We found a good one. We did it. 67 life, some flat evasion, some decent collection of res. We'll just go ahead and throw that up. Good amount of EHP for Mind Over Matter. We did just do a sum search for that. And the similar item was about 5C, so we'll list this the same. Crit multi, flat fizz. Oh yes, I wanted to check and see if this was worth putting a life roll onto. Go ahead and do that. Amulet. 12 to 22 flat fizz is tier 2 flat fizz. We've got tier 2 crit multi, and we've got 1 res roll. And it does have space for life. So, physical. 12 to 22 is 34 divided by 2, which is roughly 15. It's actually 17, but we'll do 15 as our lower bound. We'll put in multiplier, global crit multi over 30, and crafted life range, which as I did earlier is like maybe 35 to 55. We'll catch both crafted life amulets and ones with similar resistance to a crafted, or similar life to a crafted life amulet. And our total resist is only in like the mid 30s. Though we could do the single res search here, which I think is going to be more relevant. So maximum 1 resist and minimum, let's go with 25. So this will search for 1 elemental resistance, 25 or over. It's a fairly specific search, but We have a fairly specific item here. And yeah, with like Crafted Life, this is 10C, but they've been up for a week or 3 days, or 6 minutes in the case of this one. That's not that encouraging though. Screw it, I'll take the risk on crafting the flat life on this. 4C gamble. I rolled literally the worst possible roll. God damn it. Well, it's not worth scouring and recrafting. So I'll just put it up for 8C. Flat fizz, life, some int. Okay. I think one of the defining attributes of this amulet is that it has quite a lot of int and a good life roll. So we're going to look for a very high total int. It's got 69. So we're going to look for over 60 int. A good amount of life. Over, let's say, 75. And it does have an open suffix, so we could craft a res roll. But let's put in the flat fizz. We might want to actually craft something other than a res, like a damage stat. 19, so I'll put in like 10 as our average. Let's see what that's worth. 16 results. A lot of these are corrupted, interestingly enough. Crafted bad lightning res. Crafted life on that one. Wow, that's a lot of strength. Holy crap, that's a lot of strength to be able to get up to 79 life with a crafted life roll. That's a neat amulet. This has been up for a week at 15. It's been up for a week, so these are not too terribly relevant, and these are far better than what I have. I think we could get away with listing this at 10C. And if I'm going to list it, then I should craft something onto it. I could put on crit chance. What if we factor in crit chance? Critical strike chance. Just any amount, really. Oh. Interesting. Really? Let's check offline. 7 results. Putting on the crit chance brings it up to being a 30-40C item. Though that's been up for 2 days without selling. It's also offline, so the guy might just be AFK. This is really similar to my amulet. It's got better flat fizz. By a good bit, actually, better flat fizz. So I think we could craft some crit chance and justify listing this for like 25 chaos. Maybe 30. We'll start it at 30. That is our second best find so far. Alright, next on the chopping block. 63 life, some flat fizz, some crit chance. Not really great otherwise, though. The life roll isn't that high. The flat fizz isn't that high. Those are the two things giving it value. We're just going to go ahead and list that for a few chaos. 68 lives. Yeah, pretty generic ring. A lot of these that I'm listing at like 5 or 4 or 3, I fully expect to drop them by a chaos every day and maybe eventually even vendor them. But I'm just giving them a chance to make me money. Try res. And percent yes. Interesting. Alright, let's just see what an amulet with... How much total res is that? 85 plus 38. Okay, that's a lot. It's almost 120. Total elemental resistance over 100. And maximum energy shield, percent max ES, of over 15. That's really all the item has going for it. So let's just see what that's worth. 32 results. We're looking at 12 chaos. This has crafted life on it. God dang it. You're going to sell it based off that ES. Don't craft life on that. Don't craft life on that crap. Whatever. Yeah, craft flat ES. These guys know what they're doing. Not selling though. 6 days, 2 days, 5 days. Let's see, what can I craft on this, if anything? I could craft flat ES. I'll do the 10 alt flat ES craft because I don't trust the energy shield market. But we can get a bit of flat ES on it and then just list it for 20C. How the mighty have fallen. That amulet would have been worth a lot more in some previous metas. Okay, 54 life, some mana, pretty basic ring. So we'll just get that up here. Don't know why this is even here. Yeah, that's not good enough. That's not good enough to sell. What are you doing? Me. Spell fire damage is pretty high, some life. We'll start it for a few chaos. All attributes, fire damage, ES. Horrible percent ES though. Horrible percent ES. Whatever. I don't think it'll sell, but we'll put it up. And then this one, which is decent, because that has room for crafted crit chance, which I'm going to just go put on it, because I'm pretty certain that that's the best craft. Because I can't do multi, right? Yeah, no, you can't do multi. There we go. We didn't hit a very good roll. We hit the bottom end roll, actually. Oh well. Just having crit chance is what I wanted it to do. And let's see. Amulets. The flat fizz on this was quite good. Tier 1, I believe. No, tier 2, but top end of tier 2. So 32, 16 average. So when you're searching for a flat physical attacks roll, what you want to do is you want to take the top end and then add it to the bottom end. So this has 10 to 22. You add those together, and then you divide that by 2. So you're taking the average flat physical, and then you use that number to search with. So this one's average is 16. I'm searching a bit under, just so that we catch a few more amulets in the search. We've got a total of 79 life, including the strength implicit, so we can just do over 70 life. And we've got 40 int. It's actually fairly relevant, I feel like. I'm just going to do like over 30 int, as well as some crit chance. Global crit chance. Let's see what we got. 13 results, and we're looking at 40-ish chaos or so. Let's look at some of these a bit closer. That flat fizz is about as good as ours. It doesn't have the res, which I didn't factor into the search. I was just going to kind of eyeball that because I felt like, yeah, we only have 13 results. So factoring in the res would have narrowed our results too much. This is fairly similar. It's got a little bit of crit multi. Yeah, this is fairly similar to my item. Very close. Mine actually has 19% increased armor too. Not going to be relevant for a lot of builds that want this, but could be nice, especially for some sort of crit lab farming build. That's where percent armor is going to be the most relevant. This is also quite similar to mine, though higher on life. So if we come down this way, we're seeing like 111 life. 81 life was a bit higher than mine. Mine's got like 70 something, so looks like it's more in this neighborhood, so I'm just going to list it up for 45 chaos to start. Okay, well, found a few good items. I think the high end was that 1.5x amulet. This bad boy, right? This one right here. But that is going to be about it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. No, don't worry, we're not doing this again. I'm going to do that off stream or off camera. If you did enjoy, by the way, you can always follow me on Twitch and subscribe here on the channel. You guys know the drill. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.